Hello, dear friends. Today we have an interesting review of the map, highlighting significant changes along the front line. But before we begin, I sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you help support its development. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. Overview of the situation. Today's forecast for the armed forces of Ukraine is grim, judging by the changes on the map. Let's start with the Zaporizhzhia region. Kurakhove direction. There are no visible changes on the map in this area, but this does not mean that the fighting has ceased. Russian forces continue their attacks on Novodanilivka, Novandriivka, and Mala Tokmachka. The Rus tactics of the Russian armed forces involve small groups attacking along the entire front line. This strategy keeps Ukrainian forces in constant tension. Once a weak point in the defense is identified, the main forces will exploit it to advance further. From the map, it seems the primary focus in this area is on Novandriivka, as cutting off its supply routes is critical for Russian progress. Velika Novoselovka area. Russian forces have taken full control of Novodarivka and Rivnopil. Numerous geolocated reports from the battlefield confirm this. Currently, the zone of control is expanding, with attacks targeting Timirivka and Nopol. The supply road in this area is on the verge of being severed. Once this happens, Russian forces are likely to advance westward toward Velika Novoselovka. In Yasna Polyana, Russian forces have expanded their control and are consolidating their position. They are bringing in supplies and reserves while continuing pressure on Rozliv and Konstantinopil. It appears they are waiting for a Ukrainian error to exploit, potentially making a swift push into Rozliv, similar to their tactics in Kupiansk, which we'll discuss later. Trudov area. Russian forces have expanded their control from Maximivka along the road toward Kurakhove. The changes are marked on the map in a different color for clarity. Meanwhile, offensives on Yelizavetivka and Elinka seem to have ceased, likely indicating that Russian troops are awaiting the closure of an encirclement. Once this is achieved, they are expected to launch attacks from all sides. Yesterday, half of Dalny was already under Russian control. It is expected to fully fall within a day or two. It is even possible that Dalny is already under their control as reporting delays occur. Kurakhove area. In Kurakhove, fighting continues, with Russian troops slowly but steadily advancing toward the city center. Yesterday, Russian forces also expanded their control south of Kurakhove, with part of this front now firmly in their hands. Reports suggest that Ukrainian forces have partially withdrawn from Kurakhove following an order to pull back the most combat-ready units. To avoid encirclement, Ukrainian troops are focusing on defending flanks and forward positions to slow the Russian advance. This is the current situation on the front line. We will continue monitoring developments and updating the map with verified information as it becomes available. Thank you for following along. Regarding changes on the map in this direction, today we received geodata confirming that the settlement of Elinka has come under full control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Fighting is ongoing for the settlements of Berezhki and Novoselivka. Otherwise, there are no significant updates. A key detail in this footage is the movement of Russian vehicles along a specific street. This strongly suggests that during the battle for northern Kupiansk, Russian forces may have reached the M26 highway near the railroad bridge that runs along Svatovska Street. If Russian forces indeed established control over this area during their offensive, it would place all settlements to the east of the M26 highway, such as Kucherivka, Petropavlivka, and Pishchane, at risk of operational encirclement. These areas, spanning fields between Orlyanka, Novostepova, Novoselivka, and Sinyakivka, face severe logistical disruption. This creates a high probability that Ukrainian forces in the region may begin retreating in the coming days, directly resulting from the loss of northern Kupiansk. We await further updates and new geolocated evidence to clarify the situation. Now let's shift focus to the southern Kupiansk direction, or more precisely, the southern part of northern Kupiansk. Here, pro-Ukrainian sources have published footage of artillery strikes targeting Russian forward positions. The strikes, conducted by Ukraine's 40th Artillery Brigade, were geolocated to forested areas. These strikes led to map changes favoring the armed forces of the Russian Federation by the end of November 14th. Updates from the Sudar Salient and beyond. Moving back toward the Sudar Salient, Russian forces continue their offensive along the southeastern axis. According to cartographic services, the Russian military has slightly expanded its control southwest of Kurakhovo, advancing along the state border. To the northwest, intense battles persist. Over recent days, Russian forces have repeatedly attempted to breach Ukrainian defensive lines north of Sverdlikova. These positions are fortified with multiple forested strips serving as strongholds for Ukrainian forces. Despite large-scale assaults involving numerous infantry and dozens of vehicles, footage published by Ukraine's 37th Naval Infantry Brigade suggests heavy Russian losses without achieving a breakthrough. Nonetheless, some cartographic services report minor Russian advancements south of Alexandria, effectively cutting off supplies to Leonidivka and Alexandria from Lebedivka. This isolation could facilitate further Russian offensives from Novoivanivka, potentially bringing these settlements under full Russian control in the near future. Encirclement reports near Kreminna. Reports continue to surface regarding a significant number of Ukrainian soldiers encircled in the forested areas south of Olhivka and southwest of Kreminna. According to some sources and experts, multiple Ukrainian battalions are now fully surrounded and unable to reconnect with their main forces. Developments in Toretsk. Shifting focus further south, we observe significant changes on the map in Toretsk over the past 24 hours. Experts have noted ongoing active combat or Ukrainian counteroffensives in the region. Ukrainian forces reportedly regained control over the northern part of Leonidivka, despite earlier claims of its full capture by the Russian Ministry of Defense. Ukrainian units also reclaimed southern and southeastern portions of the Zabalka neighborhood, highlighting the dynamic nature of this front. These developments underscore the fluidity of the situation across the battlefield, where control frequently changes and the consequences of each maneuver ripple across broader operational zones. In the Kurakhove sector, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported the clearing of Voznesenka, leaving Novoselidivka as the last remaining settlement in this arc yet to be officially secured. Footage from several days ago showed a Russian flag raised in the southern and central parts of Novoselidivka. However, clearing operations appear to be ongoing in the village's western outskirts and southern farms. Russian units have also reportedly advanced from Elinka toward Novoilinka, with cartographic services documenting incremental gains. Additionally, on Kurakhove's eastern side, Russian forces are said to have cleared nearly 90% of the area, leaving only a few streets near Blyahodati Lane and Metallurgov Alley under Ukrainian control. The destruction of bridges in the area complicates logistics, and Russian forces are expected to launch a southeastern advance into central Kurakhove soon. The area around Uspanivka remains a focal point of fighting. Ukrainian forces, including the 72nd and 33rd Mechanized Brigades, are defending a heavily fortified position in the forested region. Some cartographic services, including pro-Ukrainian ones, have marked this stronghold as a contested grey zone, signaling an ongoing active assault by Russian forces.